Hey, this is John with FLO. In this video, we're going to walk you through the various types of Freehubs you can use on a FLO wheel. There may be a few reasons why you want to install a new Freehub. Number one, you may want to convert from a Shimano SRAM type Freehub to an XDR, or you may want to replace an existing one. This wheel here already has the end caps taken off, so if you need to learn more about taking off end caps or removing them, we have a couple videos about that we'll have here that you can take a look at. Once your end caps are off, in order to remove the Freehub itself, you can grab it with your hand and you can kind of squeeze it and pull it out in this direction. When you do that, especially on this one here, there's a rubber seal that is in place. But you want to do it as slow as possible. Inside the Freehub itself, you're going to have these pawls and springs. If you pull it out really quickly, sometimes those will come out of place. You can put them back in, but if you don't have to, that's much easier to do. So in this case, we're going to pull this off slowly. There we go. That whole Freehub will come off, just like that. You are going to have a rubber seal on all of our disc brake wheels. There's two parts of this. There's a lip that is on the outside that faces in, and then there's a lip on the inside that faces up. You want to make sure the lip that faces up is facing out of the wheel when you put that back on. If you are converting from a Shimano SRAM style Freehub to an XDR Freehub, there is a sleeve bearing, a spacer on this axle. And that's it right there. Now this one is wider than what you will see on an XDR Freehub. The XDR version is this one here. So it is much thinner than the Shimano SRAM. So when you're replacing these, make sure you take this off if you're going to put on the XDR. So in order to put that back on, the first thing you want to do is you want to place that back on in place. We're going to take our new XDR Freehub, and before we put it on, we want to add a little bit of grease just to make sure that we grease this area in here. Every 1,500 miles, we also recommend that you service a Freehub by adding grease. That will prevent any creaking or any noise. A very common thing on a rear wheel, we'll hear people say, hey, I've heard some noise from my wheel. If you do hear any noise, normally it's going to come from that Freehub itself. So every 1,500 miles, we recommend that service. We like to use a PPL1 from Park Tool, great lube. And we also use a small brush just to sort of paint things in place. So you can apply just a little bit of grease on the inside. And then you can take your brush and you just sort of paint it all in place. Make sure there's teeth on the inside here. Get it all over those teeth. That'll help any creaking or any noise like that. And then any excess grease that we have, you can also paint just a little bit on that Freehub itself. Let's make sure we get in all those working areas. There we go. Once we have that properly greased up, you're going to take that Freehub and you're going to push it on just like you took it off. Now, just to notice, these springs and pawls that are here, those are open. And in order for that to go on, those have to close. Now there's a couple tricks for that. Most of the time, when you put that on in place, you're going to push this on and you're going to get to a spot where it sort of bottoms out like that. Once you get to that spot, if you take your hand and you place it on the Freehub and you push in and you twist counterclockwise, normally what will happen is that will snap in place, just like that. So we have it's sealed properly in place. If that does not happen, and I'll show you another trick, you can pull that out, so now we're stuck here again. You can take a piece of dental floss, and what a piece of dental floss does is you rip a piece off, and you can wrap it around those pawls. And with the dental floss around, if you squeeze it, it closes those pawls, and that will slide just in place, and then you can pull that dental floss out. Once you have that back in, you're going to want to put in that seal. So again, we want to make sure that the lip side is up on the inside where that's facing out. And when you put that in place, you can just sort of press it in. It'll snap sort of in place. There we go. Now that's installed. One thing you can check too is just to double check that that spacer is installed properly on the inside. This will still spin. If you tighten this down without that spacer in there, this will actually lock up and will not spin. Now once you have that in place, you can reinstall these end caps. So for the disc brake wheel, on the non-drive side, it just pushes on. But in order to get the other one tight, remember we want to make sure to install the opposite side first. So this one is a thread-on style. So we thread that in place. And on this end cap, there's a small groove, which we use a 17mm cone wrench. And that cone wrench will allow us to hold this side. And on the other side of this axle, you're going to see there's a groove in here. What we do is we have a second cone wrench that we hold in place to basically hold that axle. We take the cone wrench on this side and we tighten that up. Now it doesn't have to be very tight. If you have it over tightened, there's no real need for that. So just enough so that it holds it in place. And then we take the opposite end, which is just a push-on style, and we push that down in place. You'll notice that on our rim brake wheels, we have different end caps. So if you need to know how to get those off or put those back on, we have a separate video that explains how to get those end caps on and off for the rim brake wheel. You'll also notice that the Freehubs on our rim brake wheels do not have this rubber seal. So do not worry about that, and it's not needed for that hub design. But this is how to install a new Freehub.